It is delightful to talk to you. I love your music. I love the
Thank you.
sound. I
Thank
love
you.
what you're doing with your talents.
Thank you so
So
much.
no problem. So I kind of right off the bat, I want to talk about the EP cover.
Yeah.
You take these amazing songs that you grew up with, that you grew up with listening, and you add your own spin to it.
Yeah.
What was the initial thought of what was the idea of, you know what, I want to not only make that a cover song, but make that an EP?
Yes. So, I really wanted to just pay tribute to some artists who have really helped inspire me, as a vocalist, just as a singer, just they have gotten me through some really rough times in my life. Their music has really inspired me, and that's what I want to do for the world. And so I really just wanted to pay tribute to them, doing that for me. There's so many artists that I want to cover and, to just pay tribute to. So why not turn it into a thing, make it into something great that we can really push out to the world, to put Melvin's little spin on top of it, and, just really support the work of these amazing gospel artists.
About the selection process, because I'm sure you went through like all the songs you grew up listening to. So
Yes.
how do you whittle them?
It was, well, I really had the help of Dana Saray and a few others to really help me pinpoint which ones I wanted to do first. Because, through this first process, we had a big list. We had a pretty extensive list of, different people that we wanted to cover. And so it really came down to just what felt the best, what ideas came to mind first. Like Ty Tribbett was, like a no-brainer. That was just tough because which Ty Tribbett song? I literally grew up to Ty Tribbett. So that was, there was so many options, but we literally just had to pick, what songs feels great, what songs do we remember? Like when we think about these specific songs, what memories, like what feelings do we get, different things like that. And that's really how we came about, the selection of those songs.
So do you view EPs as an extension of yourself, or is it a reinvention of your sound?
I think it's an extension of yourself. I like to be one that, dabbles in different sounds. I don't ever want to get to a place where I'm just stuck to one sound. Of course, there's always a place where you get to where you have your unique sound, but you don't want to necessarily stay there. You want to try to challenge yourself to do more than what you think you can do. So that's really why I took on the challenge of this EP to say, hey, this song is one sound, but this song is another sound. How do we embody those two, but still stay true to who I am?
What does the definition of the modernized sound like to you? Or do you even have one?
Um, I don't really think I have a definition. A modernized sound, I think it goes just beyond the music. I think it's how relatable we can be, to not only the younger generation or the up and coming generation, but the previous generation, and the generations to come. How can we, keep them engaged? How can we, get them to respond and to listen and, to feel? And it's really about the genuine heart posture. If you really sing about what you know and what you know to be true, that will spread to other people. And so I think that then becomes the sound. It's the sound of honesty, the sound of, truth. And then there's so many different, things. It can go so many different ways from there.
What balance? Because you introduced to today's generation, the older generation.
Yeah.
There's songs that like my grandmother can, oh, I know that song.
Yeah.
But you also balance it with the sound and the artists of today. How do you find that so they can live kind of in cohesion?
Yes, and that goes to what I was saying, being able to be relatable to the generations, taking something that this generation would, in a few words, just like toss aside or say, oh, my grandma used to do that. I'm not really with that. No, let's go back there because the sound of that time and the sounds of, their generation were a lot of the reasons where they made it through so that we can make it through. So we can't neglect and forget the testimonies that they had. So why not, play with it and change it around in a way to invite the younger generation to say, hey, come take a listen to this newer version of what our grandparents used to do and see if we can all worship together. And I think, that has really, like for God is, as an example, that is, that's an old song, like the generation of today is like, what's that? But now we have kids, babies. I've been seeing, so much support. Like even 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds are singing these songs they would have no clue about if they hadn't heard this version, to make them want to dance, to make them want to move, to learn the words. And I think that's how you begin to bridge the gap between the generations.
What is the definition of gospel music to you, and has that transformed throughout the years?
Well, I would say the definition of gospel music to me is literally ministering the gospel of Jesus Christ through song, through music. And I would say the style has changed over the years, but for most, as it should be, the message has not changed. The responsibility of it has not changed. Yes, we as gospel artists doing gospel music have a lot of work to do to get to a place where it's genuinely about the gospel of Jesus Christ. Yes, the money, we have to make a living, we have to do all these different things, but we cannot neglect the true reason of why we do this, which is the gospel, spreading the gospel and the love of Jesus Christ. So that is my definition of it.
I want to talk about Sunday Best.
Yes.
Season 9. You entered the show. What were your initial thoughts when you first entered and you made it in? And do you feel that at that moment you've achieved what you wanted to with the success that you have today?
Absolutely not. I would say, I actually turned down the audition process for Sunday Best like 3 times. I did not want to do it. I was just like too nervous. My parents didn't want me to do it when they were living, and I was just like, I think I want to stay true to what they wanted for me. So a family member came to me and said, "What if you have to lose into try? You never know what's going to happen. You never know what doors are going to open, even if you don't win." So after I did the auditions and I made it through, I got the call that they wanted me to come in. I literally couldn't believe it. I was like, that's crazy. When I arrived, seeing all the contestants, it began to overwhelm me just because I was like, Lord, I didn't even think I was qualified to even make it this far. And so the fact that you have me here is completely blowing my mind, and I'm grateful. Yeah.
What do you feel more you have to accomplish?
Oh gosh, I have so much more to accomplish. There's so many more souls that need to come to Christ. There's so many people that need to be healed. People's minds and hearts have to be transformed. And there's a new me that is on the way. I have a lot of growing up to do. I have so many things, so much more music, so much more life to live. And, I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be saved. And I believe that staying in this place and staying with my mind on Jesus Christ, I have so much more life to live, so many souls to come to Christ. And I'm grateful to be alive and saved, even in my own personal journey of just growing spiritually, getting closer to God. I'm grateful that He's allowed me to see just another day, to get it right with Him, to get this walk. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And as I'm taking people on this journey with Christ, I'm doing the same thing for myself. So I'm just grateful for this journey, this process.
Do you ever feel the responsibility when you have within your music, to bring people to Christ, but also at the same time you want to entertain them and express that joy? How do you mix the two so one doesn't become overwhelming? It's too entertainment or it's too preachy, like, oh, it's too much.
Well, I say what's in you is in you. And when you're called to do something, you know what that calling is. God has called me to be a minister to people. I'm not a licensed minister, just to put that out there, but just to use my gift that He has given me to spread it throughout the world. What am I singing for if it's not for Him, if it's not to bring people in? Kirk Franklin actually on Sunday Best, gave me some great advice. You want to get to a place in life where you can merge ministry and artistry. I never want to be an artist without Jesus. I never want to get there. Unfortunately, we have artists out here who are about the money, who are about the fame, who are about the records and the sales and the streams, all that stuff. But my focus is Jesus, and that's the thing that has been keeping me. That's the thing that has been taking me. And so I'm grateful to be where I am in God, so that I can go out to the world and do what He calls me to do. Yeah.
Can we talk about No Failure as well? You were the
Yes.
executive producer.
Yes.
You debuted. How was that experience, and how has it changed you and how you approach music now that you've done executive producing?
Yes. It was a very difficult process. It was an amazing process though. A lot of late nights. I think like my latest Zoom call, I got off the call at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Like those were that's the work we put in to make No Failure what it was. And it was just my very first live album. Didn't want to do it at first, was super nervous about it. But I'm grateful. I look back, I can't forget those days, those times, of preparing for that. It was a lot. It was a lot to take on, but God was with us the entire process. I believe everything fell into place how He designed it to. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Am I ready to do it again right now? Probably not. but no, I am excited. I can't wait to get into that space again, to where I can, we can come together as a team and just put forth the next thing that God wants us to do. It has helped me approach music. It's made me a little wiser. It's made me a little more conscious of, like you said, being an artist, entertaining, but also giving ministry. Like, how can I, in this next process, make music that is so engaging, but you're so wrapped in and you don't even realize that Jesus has hit you right at the place of your need. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm more conscious of now, and I'm grateful for that learning experience.
Let's talk about the Dove Awards.
Yes,
You have some nominees.
I do.
You got some nominations, sir. How does that feel for your music and your work to not only touch lives, but you're now getting these nominations?
Yeah, it feels incredible. Like even after the Stellar Awards, I feel like I feel like I'm in a movie. And I was not expecting to get nominated this year for the Dove Awards. And I'm just so grateful. It's like I said in my speech at the Stellars, it's not about the awards. It's not about all of this. It's great. It's an honor to be honored, for the hard work that goes into the everyday life of being an artist, being a gospel artist. And so I'm grateful that I'm being recognized, just even as a nominee for the amazing work that we have worked so hard to put together. Yeah.
What would you say No Failure, the message behind No Failure would be? And is that also a reflection of the EP covered, or volume 1?
I would say they're not necessarily related, but the message, it's kind of crazy. The message always leads back to Jesus in some way. So No Failure it was a place in my life where I had been praying for a long time. I had been seeking God for answers, didn't really understand how to process, my emotions, different things like that. And, when we were putting together this album, No Failure actually was one of the songs that came last, in the process. It was literally God, I was thinking about, Lord, what song can we add to this? And God brought that song back to my remembrance. It was a song we wrote with my church, the Life Center Fellowship. And we had a writing camp, and that song was a product of that. And the pandemic happened. We couldn't record the song. And so it had just been sitting. And so I said, can I use this song for my next record? And I got the green light, and it literally became my testimony. When you sing, you have to minister to yourself first. You have to be first so you can minister to other people. And I'll never forget the tears, the worship that we put out, in that writing camp. Because it was so real to us. In God there is no failure. There's so many things going on in our lives, and you never know what your neighbor is going through. You never know what your friends are going through unless you really sit down and talk to them. But if you don't get that chance, just remember that in God, there is no failure. He's in complete control. He's got you in the palm of your hand, the palm of his hand, and he'll never let you fall. There's no failure in him. And so that's really what I wanted to encourage people with. And so that's how No Failure really came to be.
What do you think your sound is? If you was to put out another album, I know you have something soon coming, I'm pretty sure. What would you think that message would be for today, right now, generation? Because everyone is going through something. Is it an overall message, or do you view it as an individual?
I honestly can say I don't know exactly what I want the message to be this next go round. Because there's so many things to talk about, and there's we're living in a crazy world right now where we really don't know what's next, but we have to continue to trust God and know He's in control. But that is what the message of No Failure is. And so it's like, so what do we talk about next? I'm torn between an overall message and having songs that relate to different situations, different people's lives. And I think that's what I'm leaning towards, but I'm still praying about it, still, seeking God about what he wants this next album to look like, to sound like. If I could explain my sound, I don't know. I have a lot of jazz. We got church, we got even CCM Christian. There's different ways we can go. Maybe this next album will have a mix of everything, or maybe I don't know yet. We're still in the writing, the forming process of it, but I'm excited to see what God is gonna do through all of us in this next season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to some great things.
Well, have you been working on your acceptance speech? Because music is fabulous.
Thank you so much. Listen, I'm trying to keep trying to write it all down, keep it all together. But no, I'm excited about the Dove Awards. I'm really, hoping that it is an amazing night like it always is.
You've worked with many artists. I want to know, is there someone currently, either presently or in the past, success that you want to bring on to whatever song or future album that you have?
Ooh, absolutely. I once said that I want to work with everybody, but there are some artists that I'm really looking forward to working with on my project soon. You got Kiara Sheard, you got Jay Moss, you got Kimberell. Goodness, there's so many other people. I thought about doing a song with I don't know if you know of a Shayla Shanae. Some people know who she is, but there's so many people I want to get with Red Hands Band, and I just got so many dreams, and I want to make them all happen, and I know they will happen in due time. I know they will.
And kind of lastly, when working with other artists from your past albums, I was wondering, is it the sound? You hear the song, you're like, hey, that person is great for it? Or is it the message? How do you match the song with that artist?
Well, typically, I will honestly say I go with the sound. There's different songs that have different techniques. First of all, if you know somebody's anointing, then you know they're anointing. You know what they're capable of. And it's about whether or not you trust them in that moment. And typically, I do trust people. I'm very particular about who I choose for different songs. But like say for instance, Defender on my last album, there was nobody else but Trinity Anderson who could really take that and make it. Well, I would say there are others, but from what I heard, I think that was in my spirit. She was in my spirit so heavy, and that's why I wanted her to come on and take charge of that. And she did a phenomenal job. But that's just to say, I hear her voice all over it. There's so many songs that I'm even writing that I hear people's voices on. And it's sometimes a hard process because sometimes you hear two and three people, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh no, who do you choose, or do you choose them all? Like, what do you do? But no, it's definitely a fun process for me, choosing, who I would want to feature on what song with. It's really me. When I work with people, I try to say, hey, come on, be with this song, but teach me what I need to know.
Right.
So yeah, so that's really how I go about it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking to me.
No, thank
Keep doing
you.
what you're doing. Thank you for your ministry so
Yeah,
much.
thank you
Thank you
so
so much.
much. I appreciate you for having me.
No problem.
All right, have an amazing day.
You too.
All right, bye bye.